This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I shall discuss about chronic pancreatitis. Okay. So, today my essentials. So, what are the topics that I am going to enlighten today about pancreas? Is what is pancreatitis, anatomy of pancreas, chronic pancreatitis, etiology, pathophysiology, clinical features. Diagnosis and treatment will go for the next round. Okay. Today in this class, that is within the span of 45 minutes, we can discuss about this six. Okay. Pancreas. Pancreas in general, pancreas is the largest gland in our body. It is both exocrine and endocrine in function. Okay. So it helps. It is bland appearing yellowish organ situated in the retroperitoneal region. So pancreatitis is generally inflammation of the pancreas. Generally inflammation, we call it as itis. So similarly pancreatitis. Okay. So coming to anatomy, in first year in basic anatomy, you have learned about the pancreas in general. So I will not be discussing in detail. So in general, I'll go in a superficial manner. Okay, the pancreas is a retroperitoneal organ that lies in the oblique portion, sloping upward the C loop of the duodenum. That is, duodenum curves into D1, D2, and D3. In that C loop, the duodenum lies the pancreas. Okay, it is an adult organ. It weighs about 75 to 100 grams and is about 15 to 20 centimeters in length. So, for our convenience and for our learning process, we divided pancreas into head, neck, body, and tail. Okay. Generally, head lies in the C loop of the duodenum, and it is posterior to the transverse mesocolon. And posterior to the head of the pancreas lies the vena cava. So, while dissecting during the surgery, while dissecting the pancreas, we trace out the inferior vena cava, and right in front of the IVC lies the head of the pancreas. So, this is the landmark for the head of the pancreas. So, the neck of the pancreas lies directly anterior to the portal vein, or else we can go for anatomically beside the pancreas lies the neck of the pancreas. So the inferior border of the neck of the pancreas, the supreme mesenteric vein, joins the splenic vein and then continues toward the porta hepatis. So this is the important landmark for the conjugation of the splenic vein and the superior mesenteric vein. So this is the place where dissection has to be stopped. The inferior mesenteric vein joins the splenic vein near its junction with the portal vein. So the superior mesenteric artery lies parallel to and just to the left of the superior mesenteric vein. So the uncinate process in the head of the pancreas wrap around the right side of the portal vein and then posteriorly near the space between the superior mesenteric vein and superior mesenteric artery. The body and tail of pancreas, they lie just anterior to the splenic artery and vein. So this is the pictorial representation, the C loop of the duodenum, the transverse mesocolon anteriorly. So the head of the pancreas, head, neck, body, and tail, and in the retroperitoneal region where you can see the IVC and the aorta. So behind the neck of the pancreas, you can see the splenic vein and the superior mesenteric vein, they conjoin. But in this picture representation, it's not that much clear. Okay, then the tail of the pancreas lying in the kidney. Okay, lying in the spleen. So coming to chronic pancreatitis, this is in brief. So I'm not going in detail about the anatomy, about the dissection part. So in brief, I have completed about the anatomy of the pancreas. So coming to chronic pancreatitis. So what is chronic pancreatitis? Generally acute, progresses chronic. So lasting more than 1 month. It may be either 6 months to 1 year. So it is a progressive process which causes destruction and inflammation that ends in complete loss of function of the pancreas. It is characterized by the severe pain, diabetes mellitus, and malabsorption. So what are the etiological factors that causes chronic pancreatitis? So in brief, they have divided into, we have made it easy into TIGARO, that is toxic causes, metabolic, mostly alcoholic consumption. Idiopathic includes tropical pancreatitis, that is ingestion of the cassava plant or any agents that cause free radicals that cause destruction of the pancreas, and genetical mutations, autoimmune conditions, recurrent and severe acute pancreatitis, and obstructive type of pancreatitis. And coming to pathophysiology, so ductal hypothesis obstruction is one of the causing pathophysiological process that causes destruction of the pancreas. So in ductal hypothesis, when the patient have the chronic alcohol use despite of the acute pancreatitis, it causes continuous destruction of the SNR and the ductal cells. So in pancreas, we have 4 to 5 types of different types of cells. So one of the cells is SNR and ductal cells. They cause the destruction of these ductal cells and SNR cells, causing release of the enzymatic enzymes that cause destruction of the pancreas. And there will be protein-rich pancreatic juice, which is low in volume and bicarbonate. And these juices, they cause the formation of protein precipitates, that is, which we call it as plugs. Okay, these plugs, they cause the calcification of the ductal stone and form the ductal stone in the pancreatic duct, which causes ductal obstruction. Okay, this ductal obstruction causes retention of the pancreatic juices that are secreted by the SNR and ductal cells, further causing destruction and further causing this process hypothesis, further causing the parenchymal damage. This causes complete destruction of the pancreas. So in brief, this is one of the hypotheses that is proposed by the et al. Group, so that we can know the physiological, general pathological process that is involved in the destruction of the pancreas in chronic conditions. Okay. So another is toxic metabolic hypothesis. They cause the ingestion of the toxic agents, that is alcohol, causes direct injuries of the SNR and ductal cells, which increase the membrane lipid peroxidation and free radical production. These free radical causes oxidative stress and they increase the SNR cell sensitivity to pathogenic stimuli. So these stimulates the cholecystokinin production and activation of the pro-inflammatory transcription factors that causes the chronic inflammatory processes. Okay. So in pathology, you will be dealing with all this process. Okay. Necrosis fibrosis hypothesis. This is one of the other hypothesis that is produced, that is proposed by the et al. Group. That is, they repeated episode of acute pancreatitis, that is either 1 to many times, either more than 2 times. It causes repeated episodes with cellular necrosis or apoptosis. The healing replaces the necrotic tissue with fibrosis. So generally, the fibrotic tissue, it is dangerous and it is inflammatory, causes the mostly the inflammatory process. So it evidences the natural history studies and more severe and frequent attacks. So this is the other hypothesis that is produced for the chronic pancreatitis. So these are the pathophysiological hypotheses. Mainly you have to remember the ductal hypothesis and the toxic metabolic hypothesis. Okay. Coming to clinical features, the abdominal pain, it is the most common symptom and it is generally the radiation type of pain is present in this type of chronic pancreatitis, and it is felt in the epigastric region radiating to the back. Pain is typically deep boring type of pain and penetrating is often associated with nausea and vomiting. So the more the pain, the more the suffocating, and the patient it causes to nauseate and vomit. So pain may be relieved by sitting forward or leaning forward position, that is in knee chest position. The patient will be present in the knee chest position in the normal time, so that he will have lesser influence of the pain. So severe pain decreases appetite and limits food consumption, causing weight loss and malnutrition. So this causes more destruction of the pancreas. So this is a cyclical, toxic cyclical process. So intractable pain, it is the most common reason for hospitalization and for surgery in patients with chronic pancreatitis. Steatoria, it is the presence of excess fat in the feces. So stools, generally the stools will have pale and oily appearances and can be foul swelling. Due to destructive process of the pancreas, there will be malabsorption of the fat in the intestine that causes excess of fat loss through the intestinal process, and the stool will be foul smelling. So the human pancreas has substantial exocrine reserves and steatoria does not occur until pancreatic lipase secretion is reduced to less than 10% of the maximum output. Okay. Steatoria is therefore a further feature of far advanced chronic pancreatitis, and in which most of the eosinophil cells have been injured or destroyed. The affected patients may present with diarrhea and weight loss. Some patients may note bulky foul-smelling stools. So, with very long follow-up, approximately 50 to 80% of patients with chronic pancreatitis eventually have exocrine insufficiency. The endocrine process may be disturbed, but exocrine insufficiency will be 100% present in chronic pancreatitis cases. Deficiency of the fat-soluble vitamins may develop in patients with chronic pancreatitis and steatoria. Significant vitamin D deficiency and osteopenia and osteoporosis occurs in patient due to loss of vitamin D. Okay. So other clinical feature, diabetes mellitus. This is an endocrine insufficiency. So previously we have discussed about the exocrine insufficiency. Now coming to the endocrine insufficiency, that is pancreatic beta islet cells, SNAD duct cells, they will be destroyed completely. So the patient will no longer be able to produce insulin on its own. So he may require insulin supplementation in chronic conditions. That is lifelong. He may require lifelong. So it is a consequence of long-standing chronic pancreatitis and is especially common after pancreatic resection and in tropical pancreatitis. That is, if the pancreas is completely fibrosed or calcified, then the patient may require in long-term process. So islet cells appear to be relatively resistant to destruction in chronic pancreatitis. So about half of the patients with chronic pancreatitis who develop diabetes will require insulin. So unlikely. Type 1 diabetes, type 1 and type 2. In type 1, insulin produced beta cells and glucagon producing alpha cells are injured. So these injuries are irreversible process. So it is difficult for the patient again to secrete that much amount of insulin previously secreted by the pancreas, and he may require implement insulin supplementation in chronic conditions. This combination increases the risk of prolonged and severe hypoglycemia with overvigorous treatment owing to the lack of compensatory release to glucagon. Ultimately, 40 to 80% of patients with chronic pancreatitis have diabetes after very long follow-up. Okay, coming to examination. So, on patient arriving to the casualty or to the outpatient department, patient will be in leaning forward position. That is, due to severe abdominal pain, the patient may be unable to stand straight or sit in a normal position or in a prone or supine position, but the patient will be in leaning forward position. That is the classical position to say that the patient is in chronic pancreatitis condition. Okay. In other conditions, they won't be present, but except in this chronic pancreatitis, only the patient will be in leaning forward position. So occasionally, a tenderness, fullness, or mass may be palpated in the epigastrium. That is the complication of the chronic pancreatitis, the formation of the pseudocyst. That is, we'll be discussing about in later. A patient with advanced disease exhibit decreased subcutaneous fat, temporal wasting, sunken supraclavicular fossa, and other physical signs of malnutrition. Yeah. Sometimes jaundice may be seen in presence of the coexistent alcoholic liver disease or bile duct compression within the head of the pancreas. A palpable spleen may be rarely found in patients with thrombosis of the splenic vein as a consequence of chronic pancreatitis or in patients with portal hypertension due to coexisting chronic liver disease. So coming to the diagnosis, single test is not useful in diagnosis of the chronic pancreatitis. So we require biochemical tests, direct tests, indirect tests, pathological tests, and radiological tests. So combined with these all condition tests, then we go for the diagnosis of the chronic pancreatitis and their complications. So what are the tests? There are the tests for the structure of the pancreas and tests for the functions of the pancreas. That is, functions means both endocrine and exocrine functions. So both are more accurate in advanced diseases. So coming to the direct test, that is cholecystokinin test or secretin test. So indirect tests include fecal stool test, that is fecal elastase, fecal trimethoprim, serum trypsinogen, fecal fat, and blood glucose levels. So, due to excess of excretion of the fat through the feces, we go for this type of indirect test. So, what are the tests for the structure of the pancreas? That is the radiological tests. That is includes both all the type of various modalities that you know. That is X-ray, CT, ultrasonography, MRCP, ERCP. Okay. So this is the plain X-ray film showing chronic pancreatitis condition where they can see the multiple white dots. That is the uh, calcification of the pancreas. That is we have discussed previously in pathophysiology that chronic pancreatitis, that is destruction of the acinar cells and the ductal cells, that causes fibrosis of the acinar cells, that causes calcification of the cells. So this is the calcification part of the pancreas. So you can see the this is the head of the pancreas, tail, neck, and body and tail in a in this X-ray direct X-ray abdomen film. Okay. So in ultrasound, we have seen that the pancreatic duct will be enlarged. So in ultrasound, you may not know, but what you remember is that there will be salt and pepper appearance of the parenchyma. That is, destruction of the parenchyma calcification causes the salt and pepper appearance of the parenchyma. So in pancreatic duct is enlarged, there will be marked heterogeneous parenchyma. Okay, this is the grading of the ultrasonography, but we have just you can just remember that it is graded into normal, equivocal, mild, moderate, and severe types. So in equivocal, the gland enlargement will be less than 2, and the mild dilatation of the pancreatic duct, that is 2 to 4 mm. In moderate, the pancreatic duct is dilatation is greater than 4 mm, and severely the greater than 10 mm. Okay. So other finding, other diagnostic modality of the structure of the pancreas is CT scan of the pancreas, that is computerized topography. In computerized topography, what you have to look for is the calcification of the pancreatic parenchyma. So in X-ray abdomen, we have seen that there will be multiple white process. Similarly, there will be multiple calcifications, as you have seen the arrow marks in this pictomatic representation. And this hollow structure filled with fluid, this is called as the pseudocyst arising from the pancreas. Okay. So just remember up to this part. Okay. In CT scan, this is the other representation, that is showing the arrow mark showing the calcification of the pancreas. Okay, this is also the calcification of the pancreas. In picture 1 and picture 2, the white dots you see, that is the calcification of the pancreas. So ERCP. This is the ERCP original image, and this is the pictoratic representation of ERCP. Generally, endoscopy it goes up to the 110 centimeters. That is the maximum up to the D2 part of the duodenum. So at the D2 part of the duodenum, there will be opening of the ampulla of the Vater. From there, we go for the cholangiopancreatography, that is stent placement, where the opening of the pancreatic and the common bile duct appear. So there you see whether there is any, visualize any stone causing the stricture formation or causing the chronic pancreatitis condition. So this is the image showing the pancreatic duct and CBD. Okay, this is the other pictoratic representation. So in chronic pancreatitis, there will be clubbing of the side of the branches. This is the other ERCP image of a pancreas were suspected for the chronic pancreatitis, where there is non-dilated main pancreatic duct. So this is the normal pancreatic duct level. Okay. So these are the sides of the branches. So in mild to moderate equivocal, we have mentioned in the ultrasonography that dilation of the pancreatic duct will be present. In mild to moderate, it will be greater than 4 mm, and in chronic severe, they will be greater than 10 mm. Okay. So this is the main pancreatic duct, which is 1.5 times the normal width. So in previous image, we have seen that is the normal width of the pancreatic duct, and in this image, we have seen that this is the dilation of the pancreas, that is 1.5 times the normal. So similarly, this is the clubbing of side branches. This is the other ERCP image where the main pancreatic duct dilation is more than 1.5 mostly due to the stone obstruction. It causes This is the stone we have seen mentioned in the original image. So this stone causes more than greater than 1.5. So it may be 2 or 3. So that much dilated the pancreatic duct. So it causes retention of the juices and causes the chronic destruction. So what we have to do is to remove the stone and stent placement. So what are the criteria for the chronic pancreatitis? Normal, equivocal, mild, moderate, and severe. We have discussed now. So in normal, the side branches and main pancreatic duct are normal. In equivocal, dilatation or obstruction of the less than 3 side branches. In mild, dilatation or obstruction of more than 3 side branches and normal main pancreatic duct. And moderate, additional stenosis and dilation of the main pancreatic. And severe, additional obstruction, system stenosis of the main pancreatic duct in calculate. So this is the other imaging process, that is MRCP, magnetic resonance cholangiopancreatography, where we see that pancreatic duct is dilated due to stone obstruction. Okay. So coming to the treatment. Treatment modalities, it contains mostly management of the causes, complication of the chronic pancreatitis, and also the treatment of the clinical features that causes the caused by the chronic pancreatitis. Once the process of pancreatitis starts, it is an irreversible process. So we cannot reverse the changes that have already occurred during the process of the damage of the pancreas. So we can stop the further growth, further damage of the pancreas, and we can withhold the portion of the damage from going into other complete destruction of the pancreas. So treatment contains management of abdominal pain, steatorrhea, and diabetes mellitus. Okay. Abdominal pain, it is the most common and most debilitating we have known. The initial evaluation of pain should be focused. So initially includes pancreatic cirrhosis, duodenal compression, superimposed pancreatic carcinoma, and gastroparesis. So medical treatment, it includes analgesics, cessation of alcohol and tobacco. That is the causes that cause the etiology that causes the chronic pancreatitis, and cessation of the alcohol, antioxidant, pancreatic enzyme therapy, octreotide. Endoscopic therapy, pancreatic duct sphincterotomy, stent placement, pancreatic duct stone removal, and combined endoscopic therapy. These are the endoscopic ERCP. ERCP is both investigative, therapeutic, and diagnostic purpose. So this is the therapeutic purpose, that is sphincterotomy, stent placement, duct removal, duct stone removal, combined endoscopic therapy. So analgesics, you may start from simple analgesics, that is from acetaminophen or aspirin. But in chronic conditions, that won't be sufficient for the patient. So initially we start with this type of agents, and we go for the narcotic agents. So never go first initially start with the narcotics, because it is dangerous condition. Sometimes the conditions may improve with simple analgesics also. And cessation of the alcohol and tobacco, that is the most important reason. The patient must not go near to the alcohol once again after the destruction process started, because once again if he consumes the alcohol, the destruction process again reverses back, and there will be irreversible destruction of the pancreas again. So furthermore destruction occurs of the pancreas. Okay. So cessation is, and alcohol and tobacco are important in early stage pain relief, can occur after abstinence from alcohol. See, on withdrawal of alcohol also there will be pain relief. Okay. Pancreatic enzyme therapy, we give him the, due to destruction of the pancreas, there will be no secretion of the exocrine and endocrine enzymes. So we supplement pancreatic enzymes to reduce the pain and to reduce the, and also ability to absorption of the intestine. So octreotide also decreases the pancreatic and decreases the circulating cholecystokinin levels. This agent therefore might be reduce pain via the same mechanism invoked for the use of enzymes for pain. So antioxidants, patients with chronic pancreatitis have evidence of oxidant stress and reduced antioxidant capacity. So oxidant stress is a strong activator of pancreatic stellate cells. These are now several small randomized trials of mixture of antioxidant, selenium, beta carotene, vitamin C, and vitamin E indicate the therapy. reduces the pain of chronic pancreatitis. Coming to endoscopic treatment. So we have discussed the sphincterotomy condition, removal of stone, stent placement. These are the various endoscopic treatment. So what is this treatment? We'll go in detail. Okay. In appropriately selected patients, a pancreatic duct sphincterotomy will facilitate drainage, reduce ductal pressure, and may help alleviate pain. So pancreatic duct strictures performs a pancreatic sphincterotomy, directing the stricture and placing a stent. And duct stones requires a pancreatic duct sphincterotomy and structured dilatation to enable their extension. So coming to steatorrhea. How do you treat steatorrhea? So it is a fat malabsorption or maldigestion process that 30,000 international units of lipase delivered to intestine should be sufficient to eliminate the steators. That is, it helps in absorption of the and digestion of the fat within the intestine. Okay, it corresponds to 10% of the normal pancreatic output of lipase. So goal of managing steatorrhea is to administer 30,000 units of lipase in prandial and postprandial. So before the meals and after the meals, we administer the 30,000 units so that there will be no steatorrhea and there will be sufficient fat absorption and digestion. If non-enteric coated preparations are chosen, concomitant suppression of the gastric acid with a histamine receptor antagonist or proton pump inhibitor is necessary. There are several explanations for failure of enzyme therapy for steatorrhea. The most common is inadequate dose. That is, the patient may not take complete doses, or the patient may neglect sometimes. He may leave the treatment in or he may not be able to afford the treatment properly. So that the patient non-compliance with the number of pills that must be taken. So we have to close monitor the patient. So coming to diabetes mellitus, how do you manage the patient with diabetes mellitus? If untreated, the patient may go into directly ketoacidosis. Okay, so insulin is often needed in this type of patients, and patients with chronic pancreatitis tend to have lower insulin requirement. Patients with type 1 diabetes. So vigorous attempts to tight control of the glucose. Glucose values are often associated with disastrous complication of treatment induced hypoglycemia. Surgical therapy. So coming to our part, surgery. So when do you do surgery? When it is not treated by the medications. So intractable pain requiring high and toxic dose of analgesia. So recurrent episodes of pain with acute exacerbation of the CPA affecting directly requiring hospital admissions. So generally, presence of the complication of the chronic pancreatitis, that is inflammatory mass in the head of the pancreas, CVD or the duodenal obstruction, compression of the portal of superior mesenteric vein, pseudocyst, pseudoaneurysm, any suspicion of malignancy, and pancreatic divisum causing chronic pancreatitis. So pancreatic divisum is congenital anomaly where the pancreatic duct divides into two and forming two types of pancreas causing compression of the pancreas. Okay. What are the main goals of surgery? Why do we do it? So we cannot completely cure pancreas as such of the with surgery, but we can stop the damage from further going into complete destruction, 100% destruction. That is ductal deprivation, long-term pain relief, main pancreatic duct and side ducts, and maximum stone retrieval, and address the complications. That is other complications, head of the pancreas, pseudocyst of the pancreas, any other the pancreatic duct dilatations like that. Okay, both to preserve the exocrine and endocrine functions. So what are these are the drainage procedure, that is dual procedure, Pistorius-Quillsbury procedure, Partington-Roche procedure, and Ibisky procedure. These are the procedures. Just remember the names. Okay, just by side you remember. Okay, so other resection procedures are Whipple's procedure, Begas procedure, distal pancreatectomy, and total pancreatectomy. Okay, this is the pictoriatic representation of the pancreas reverse procedure. Okay, just in case I am just going fast forward so that it is not that much necessary for you. When you come to final year, we will be discussing about this procedures in detail. Okay, so just remember the names of the procedure. Okay, so Begas procedure is also the resection procedure. Okay, this is the before, during, and after resection of the pancreas. and stitching of the pancreas to the loop of the duodenum. Okay. So duodenum preserving pancreatic head dissection. This is a Bejer's procedure. Okay. Yeah, this is the Whipple's procedure. This is the famous procedure where we go for different types of resection, that is intestine, pancreas, and the liver hepatectomy. Okay. Part of the gallbladder is also removed. This is the resected part in the Whipple's procedure. Okay. Total pancreatectomy, that is removing of the total pancreas when it is completely destroyed along with the spleen. Okay. So, what are the coming to the complications? So, these are complications including both after the procedure and also along with the chronic pancreatitis, that is pancreatic fistula formation, delayed gastric emptying, hemorrhage, biliary fistula, intraperitoneal corrections, and peritonitis, pure effusion, septic shock. Okay, those are the procedures. These are the complications that you have to remember. So in discuss in detail, discuss in detail in later classes. So in summary, what you have to remember is pancreatic surgeries are not as morbid as cancer. We think that after the pancreatic surgery, the survival rate may be up to 80 to 90%, but they are not that much as morbid. Their survival rate will be about normal up to 100% survival will be present sometimes. Okay. So surgery is the final answer to most of the patients of chronic pancreatitis. Generally, there won't be relief with medical treatment. On ongoing long-term medical treatment only, the patient comes to the stage of chronic pancreatitis. So after the one stage, the medical treatment also won't support the patient. So surgery is the most answer to the chronic pancreatitis, and it improves the quality of life in most of the chronic pancreatitis. Okay, thank you.